What is your expectation for Jordan Love this year?
I've picked Jordan Love to win MVP this year.
When you have this sort of excitement, this sort of energy, this sort of athleticism that you add to a defense, I believe it helps everyone get infinitely better. And we saw that yesterday from Jeff Hafley and that entire defensive crew.
Are the Packers the biggest threat to Philly in the NFC now?
I believe they are.
How about that from the Green Bay Packers? You have Jordan Love looking like an MVP candidate on offense, and Micah Parsons instantly delivering his trademark impact on defense. And look, I think it's official. Green Bay has put the NFC on notice. They just downed the bully boys of the NFC North from 2024, and now the sky is clearly the limit. And because of that, and in today's video, this is exactly why the Green Bay Packers are the most dangerous team in the NFL. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into today's video, and as you can see, I still like the setup. We went with a different mic today too. So if you enjoyed this mic, let me know. Or if you enjoyed the mic stand, we can go back to that too. But all that apart, I just want to let you guys know we are live streaming every single Friday, basically going over all the matchups for the upcoming week, the Thursday night game, as well as all the college football games for that week. Giving you guys some bets last week. We won $700 going, what did we go? Raiders plus 2.5, Packers money line, steamrolled all that, took it over, put $300 on the Bills. Bills covered, and we won $700. So we're over there in our Discord. That is in the Discord. So if you guys are not able to join the live stream, join our Discord where we are talking all things football, fantasy leagues, giveaways, and we are going to be live streaming in there some of the football games, and I'm going to be able to hang out with you guys in there. Nonetheless, though, I'm excited to just grow this community. As always, KRICH crew, if you guys are here, make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing because I am excited to talk about the Green Bay Packers today. Like, as crazy as it sounds too, barely 2 weeks ago, the Green Bay Packers basically stole the entire offseason by trading for Micah Parsons. The former Dallas Cowboy had been one of the very best, if not the best edge defender in the NFL ever since he entered the league in 2021, collecting 52.5 sacks over his first 4 completed seasons. He was viewed as the missing piece to put this Packers team over the edge, and everyone knew Green Bay had talent, but they just needed that final blue chip player who could come up big for them at the most important times. And well, to be frank, they got that guy. And we all know what his name is. Say it with me. Micah Parsons. Like, I mean, even in limited playing time against the Detroit Lions in his debut for the team, Parsons was an absolute menace and he made his mark instantly. As we saw on third down on the Lions opening drive, he absolutely mutilated Penei Sewell, who, as we already know, was one of the best in the league and doesn't get beaten very often. And what's crazy about it too is Parsons may have not collected a sack on that play, but he did overpower Sewell, crashed the pocket, and forced Goff to evade right and try and make a play on the move, which is exactly what you want to do with a quarterback like Goff. And then after that series of plays too, the Lions had to punt their first possession back to Green Bay, who then marched downfield and got a field goal to go up by 10 early. Like, look, to be straight up, the idea of Micah Parsons playing on this already pretty good Packers defense should be absolutely terrifying for everybody else in the NFL. Like in Rashawn Gary, the Packers have another very talented and supremely athletic edge defender where he picked up 1.5 sacks against the Lions to kickstart his 2025 season in absolute style. He was then supported very well by Lucas Van Ness, who also got on the score sheet with half a sack for himself. Gary, as we all know, is a very established threat for this defense, and Van Ness, as a developing player, will both benefit greatly from having Micah Parsons demanding double and triple teams and directing opposing quarterbacks into their path. And it wasn't just the edge guys that had great defensive starts too, it was their defensive tackles and guys up the middle that were wrecking havoc also. Colby Wooden and Devontae Wyatt gave the Lions very little to work with, and Wyatt himself collected a sack on the day too. Like, these guys and the rest of the rampant Packers defense held the previously dominant duo of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to 2.3 and 2.1 yards per carry respectively. Like, that's a damn tough thing to do to start the season and a hell of a way to make a statement against an offense that was absolutely historic last year. On the day, Green Bay restricted last year's top scoring offense to just 13 points and a measly 3.8 yards per play. So yes, this defense is going to be a problem for the rest of the NFL. And now look, before we continue, as you guys can see, I have the Packers hat on because we're doing a Packers video, so I'm going to be wearing every team's hat for the video. So let me know if you have a hat that I should cop. But basically, I know it's one game into the season and it's a small sample size, but looking at my notes too, the Packers averaged 2.6 sacks per game last year. 2.6. Okay, I'm going to look at it over here real quick because it's crazy what I'm about to read to you. Now in 2025, they opened the year with 4 sacks. 4 sacks against a team whose identity has been defined by their offensive line. To go from 2.6 average to getting 4 in one game is absolutely insane. Do you understand that? Like, to put it in perspective, last year the Lions offensive line was basically just bullying other defensive lines in the league, and at some points you could even see the offensive line just pushing back defensive lines before the running back had even been given the ball from like that Goff to the running back exchange had even happened. But everything changed in this game. It was absolutely insane to see because the Packers defense was not budging at all. But on top of that too, they only held the Lions, and I'm only saying only because it's the Lions offense that we remember from last year, obviously could change this year, but they held the Lions to 2.1 yards respectively per carry on that side of the ball. Like, that's an absolutely insane stat to go from having 2.6 average sacks, and again, it is only one game, to 4 sacks in your season opener. And then on top of that, holding what was the best offense last year to 2.1 yards per carry from both those running backs is absolutely awesome for the Packers defense. Like, that's exactly how you want to open the season, and truthfully, it's an early sign of just dominance that we could see to continue for this Packers team, and not only on the offensive but the defensive side of the ball as well. And I think what's also crazy too is that this all happened while Micah Parsons played just 29 of Green Bay's 65 defensive snaps. The dude was incredibly disruptive and efficient on those limited plays, and most importantly, he elevated everyone around him and made their lives easier. Like, this is what we call legendary, and this is why Green Bay officially has a defense that can take them all the way to a Super Bowl. Oh, and of course, yes, Parsons notched himself a sack later in that game to seal the game, actually. I think what makes the Packers really just so scary, though, is it's not just how well their defense played, it's how well their offense looked, and really looks poised for a breakout year this year from Jordan Love and just really all of his offensive weapons. Obviously, Jordan Love is the guy who will ultimately determine how big of a year this is for Green Bay, and really things couldn't have started much better for him. He combined his typical jaw-dropping ability and explosive tendencies with fantastic efficiency in a brilliant first outing. 10 receivers collected passes against the Lions, breathing life into the narrative that maybe, just maybe, this team doesn't need an out-and-out wide receiver one. I really still do believe that Matthew Golden is the playmaker that Matt LaFleur expects to take on the alpha role, but when you've got LaFleur scheming up guys wide open like he did against Detroit, and Jordan Love delivering the ball so decisively, this unit is primed and ready to score a lot of points this year. And as we all saw on Sunday too, Jordan Love wasted no time carving up the Detroit Lions defense. First, he threw an absolute dart to Tucker Kraft, then a bomb to Romeo Doubs, followed by a feathered strike to Jaden Reed in the end zone. By halftime, the Lions knew they had no answer, and Love was in complete command. With his pass at the midway point of the second quarter too, Love had completed 10 of his 14 attempts for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, to say this dude was dialed in would be an understatement in my opinion. By the time the game was over though, there wouldn't be much else to report on Love throughout the rest of the game, where he finished up with a very tidy 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 0 sacks taken. The reality was that the game was already over, with Green Bay relying on some tough running from Josh Jacobs and more dominance from the defense to grind out this win. And speaking of Josh Jacobs too, he collected 66 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries, which is 20 more yards than all of the Detroit rushers had combined. So yeah, it was that kind of game. And going back to Josh Jacobs too, like Parsons in 2025, he was the missing piece brought in during the 2024 offseason. He helped elevate the Packers from a middling rushing offense that averaged 112 yards per game in 2023 to a physical rushing unit in 2024 that ranked 5th with a known average of 146.8 yards per game. With this dude on the field, you know that the Green Bay Packers are going to be difficult to slow down, and there aren't much better backs you'll find across the league when it comes to grinding out wins. So I mean, look, in Josh Jacobs, the Green Bay Packers have found a star for their run game. In Micah Parsons, they found a superstar for their defense. And I really think we're going to see significant strides from the passing game in 2025 as well. We've already spoken about how efficient Jordan Love was in his opening game and how he may not even need a true alpha receiver when you consider the receiving options at his disposal and LaFleur's ability as a play caller. However, really, if we do flash back to last season, there are at least some games that we can kind of go back to and put a little tick next to that it would have been nice to have a good, just big guy or a number one wide receiver for Jordan Love to get the ball to. Like last year, Green Bay didn't have a receiver go beyond 58 yards in each of their last 3 games, including in the wildcard round, in which Jaden Reed topped the box score with just 46 yards. And now look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that the Packers have so many good options for Jordan Love to throw the ball to on offense and just all around, basically all the weapons he has all around this offense. Like there's a lot of guys that got the ball in Detroit and there's nothing against that. It's just that if Jordan Love was able to just have a great number one wide receiver, this offense would be then it would be absolutely unstoppable, no questions asked. And really, I think if Matthew Golden does take the right steps forward, I think he's going to be that number one guy. Yes, the rookie might have only collected 2 catches for 16 yards in his debut, but we can forgive him for a slow start in such a crowded receiving room. Golden's definitely going to play bigger than his 6 foot, 191 pound frame would suggest, and his 4.29 40-yard dash tells you just how dangerous he can be going deep. That's the thing though, he's not going to be your typical speedy deep threat though. This guy is a superb and fluid route runner with great hands, suggesting he can develop into a menace at all depths on the field. The dude just gets open, and if he can become a true wide receiver 1, everyone else in this offense would become even more impactful as a supportive piece. And now look, I've said it before, and this might be a hot take and not a lot of people are going to like this, but I think Jordan Love is a serious MVP candidate this year. And really, if Matthew Golden does rise to the occasion and become that number one guy for them, or any guy for this offense, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, whoever it is, becomes a solid alpha number one wide receiver for this team, then yeah, I think that Jordan Love is going to have a year. It is certainly an exciting prospect for Packers fans to keep an eye on throughout the season, but for now, all they're focused on is just how good this entire team looked in the season opener. And now look, I've got to admit too, I did not think that Detroit was going to get bullied this hard on both sides of the ball. I thought that the Packers were going to win, but I thought it was going to be much closer than what it looked like on Sunday. Like as I said before, I thought Green Bay was going to be good, but this good and against the 2-time defending division champs, I just thought it was going to be such a much closer game, and then they came out and did this. It was absolutely awesome to see. My grandparents and dad are a Packer fan, so shout out to them. They love the Packers, and I'm sure they're happy to have another 30 years of, a franchise quarterback. Man, I wish the Saints could get somebody good. Okay, back to the video though. Needless to say though, it was utter domination by the Packers, and safe to say that the league has been put on notice and that the Packers have arrived for sure. Amazingly enough too, this was actually Matt LaFleur's first ever regular season opener in front of a home crowd at Lambeau Field too. It's taken him reaching his 7th season as the team's head coach to be able to enjoy that honor, and what a way to mark it was. Like, this is a game that both teams have all summer to prepare for, and nobody wants to start 0-1, and the pressure is raised up to another level because it's an in-division clash. The pressure was as high as it could have ever been for Matt LaFleur and his staff, and they over-delivered. They had answers for everything that Detroit threw at them, and they completely outsmarted their counterparts all game long too. LaFleur's offense showed no signs of rust and was clinical, putting the game out of reach so early. Meanwhile, as we saw on the defensive side of the ball too, Jeff Hafley's defense was rampant, completely suffocating an offense that embarrassed everyone who went up against them last year. So in total, the Green Bay Packers were a well-oiled machine for this game. And now just flipping back to the Packers as a whole, the tone has well and true been set. This team has their eyes firmly trained on a Super Bowl, and you can bet the crowd knows it. Lambeau Field was rocking all game long. From the introduction of Micah Parsons right through the game's final play, it's as if they can sense something special is on the horizon, and who can blame them? Much like the Detroit Lions' journey to the top of the division, these Packers have been trending in the right direction with Jordan Love as their quarterback. 9 wins in 2023 got fans excited about what the Love experience could offer, before 11 wins in 2024 could be chalked up as a solid enough effort considering the injury to Love, which lingered throughout the rest of the season. Now with Parsons in the building and a finely tuned offense ready to explode, 2025 looks like the year in which it can all come together in harmony to produce the Green Bay Packers' first run to the Super Bowl since the 2010 season with Aaron Rodgers. I think the most significant fallout from the Week 1 victory over a division rival is how it undermines the narratives that carried over from 2024. Last year, these Green Bay Packers were the team that was good, but not quite good enough. They lost to Philly before going 1-5 in the division, being swept by Detroit and Minnesota, and losing to even the Bears once. Then when they got into the playoffs, they really didn't look that competitive, losing to Philly against them in the wildcard round. Like really, I think last year's narrative for the Packers is that they couldn't win the big ones. But now, 1 week into 2025, that narrative looks pretty dead. Against the division champs, they dominated every phase of the game. Offense, unstoppable. Defense, absolutely terrifying. Vibes, off the chart. The Green Bay Packers are officially what I think is the most dangerous team in the NFL. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for overtime. As you guys can see, this one's going to be a little bit shorter of a video today because I had a little bit more time to get my thoughts down for this video. But if you made it to this part of the video, make sure you comment overtime. Appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think of the new setup. Do you guys prefer the mic being handheld or do you prefer the mic stand? Let me know about that too. I don't really know if there's an audio difference. If there is, let me know. But yeah, I truly am appreciative of all your guys' love and support. Make sure if you guys did make it here, as I said, comment overtime, like, comment, and subscribe. And let's talk about the Packers again, because truthfully, I cannot believe it. I got the Packers hat on. I got the Packers game, I think, on behind me. Yeah. And I mean, I bet on the Packers and I thought they were going to win the game, but I did not think they were going to do what they did to the Lions. Like they absolutely manhandled the Lions from start to finish. It didn't look like it just looked like a completely different team that was on the field. And normally we were saying that about the Lions last year, is that the Lions just looked like a much better team, I should say, than whoever their competitors were. On Sunday, it looked like the exact opposite. We had Jordan Love just looking very, very confident, all of his reads were crisp. He looked good. There were a couple towards the end of the game where I remember I was sitting with my grandparents and my dad watching it. The 2 interceptions that he did throw, he threw one that luckily there was a holding penalty on, I think. It was the pick 6 that got called back. So that was a big one. And then I think literally the play right after that, Alex Anzalone dropped a pick that should have been caught for sure. So there were some questionable things, but I think that kind of comes with the territory of having Jordan Love as your quarterback. Is you're going to have those risk-taking plays where you're like, wow, that could have gone completely wrong had the defender caught it. But then at the same time, you're just going to get some cool ass looking plays where he's thrown off his back foot and it's a touchdown. And you're like, this dude is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. He's better than Mahomes. He's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Lamar Jackson. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, truthfully, and sorry, I keep saying that word a lot, but I think that the Packers are in for a fantastic year. I have them as my Super Bowl pick not over the Bills. I have the Packers and Bills in the Super Bowl. Those are my 2 teams that I have in the Super Bowl that I have in my Discord fantasy league my pick 'em pool that we do. So if you guys want to hop in that, jump into just Discord down below. And yeah, I think the Packers, they've got the right pieces, and especially like the Packers were going to be good before they got Micah Parsons, but then they got Micah Parsons and it just elevated that defense. It got them, like I said in the beginning of the video, the guy that was their missing piece, similar to how Josh Jacobs was the missing piece last year in the offense. Micah Parsons was that missing piece on defense. I truly do believe that because their defensive line had Rashawn Gary, they had Slater, and they had some other guys on that front, Van Ness. But they weren't that guy that like you scheme your offense around. Now with Micah Parsons on this defense, every single offense, every single week has to go, hey, they have Micah Parsons. We need to double team him every play. We need to do this to him. Like they scheme their offense around Micah Parsons. So before it was scheming around the entire defense, now you're literally scheming around one guy is what it feels like is going to happen for the Packers, which that's what you want when you bring in a guy like Micah Parsons. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Packers offense, defense, and just all of the pieces this year, because I have them winning the NFC North, have them going to the Super Bowl. But again, that all is if Micah Parsons stays healthy, if Josh Jacobs stays healthy, Jordan Love stays healthy, and if Matthew Golden can become that number one wide receiver. I do think Matthew Golden is going to be a premium asset if he does pan out, which I think he can. But again, it all comes down to whether he gets schemed up the correct way by LaFleur, and if Jordan Love feels confident enough to give him the ball. Like throwing to 10 different receivers on one Sunday, that reminds me of what Drew Brees would do. Drew Brees would go out there every single Sunday with a bunch of JV guys, you know. Yeah, we had Brandon Cooks. Yeah, we had Marquise Colston. Drew Brees would go out there, though, and make those guys look like all pros. And with Jordan Love, it seems like he's kind of doing that. So if they can get him a number one guy, whether it's Matthew Golden or they trade for somebody eventually or sign somebody even like a veteran, it's going to be scary for what the Packers can do. Quickly, though, before we wrap things up, I want to flip over to the Lions side of things, because for the Lions, it looked like they weren't bad by any means, but they almost looked, I think I saw it on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. They almost looked like they were nerfed a little bit. Like, you know how when you're playing a video game and they nerf your favorite, your favorite play in Madden or your favorite loadout in Call of Duty or whatever. That's what it felt like, is like they've lost both of their coordinators, and it felt like they just couldn't get things going. They felt out of sync. I don't know what it was, but they just didn't feel like the same Detroit Lions that we saw in 2024. But let me know your thoughts about what you guys think the Packers are going to do this year. Are they contenders or pretenders? Let me know record predictions for the Packers and the Lions. And again, KRICH crew, if you made it here, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know that you made it by commenting overtime. Jump in the Discord. And as always, also let me know about the setup. Which mic? This one or the mic stand also? As always, though, KRICH crew, I will catch you in the next one.